Good weekend, or not weekend, my goodness. See, this is what happens when Leighton fell off. No, here he's back. Okay, please start, Leighton. Good grief. Are you,
Well, welcome to the Tuffy Talk live show, starring your hosts, Macon Adams, Greg the Leg, Carson Carell, and if Leighton Smith decides to show up, it's Leighton Smith. So
your
we are
Jack too. You're really
mine is.
Yeah, it's okay. You're better now.
Well, I was trying to project actually there, so that's probably why. So, but no, guys, we're excited to have the show here with you guys tonight, and I think Leighton's had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we should be good and go here. We got a lot to talk about, whether it's football, basketball, or maybe some other things in between. I think Leighton really has an agenda. If he can figure out the technical difficulties, we'll kind of let him lead the show. But since he is not here right now, I'm hijacking this thing. So I guess first off, Greg, Carson, how was your Christmas and New Year's with family and friends?
I'll go first.
Carson, yeah, go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, it was great. Made it down to Raleigh for the 2 basketball games on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Those were much more successful than the game over the weekend, which I know we'll get involved in. But I did see Carson for New Year's Eve at the basketball game. Carson?
Yes, the Wake Forest one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you had a good time off, guys, with family and friends, and so we're in the thick of a few heavy items with the transfer portal, with football, and a lot of changes. So it's a lot to digest what's going on and what's coming up. We're also like heavy in some basketball stuff with men and women's. I think for this, let's start with basketball because that's kind of more what's happening right now kind of thing. and let's start with the ladies because the ladies, let's go ladies for women first. But they've had some good wins lately. Carson, they had a really nice win against Stanford, and
Stanford. They
had a
played
nice
Stanford
win.
and Cal back to back.
Cal, and looked really good doing so. And I'm curious what your thoughts were about both those games.
Yeah, I think the Stanford game in particular, they just came out really fired up against what is historically a really good program. They shot the ball really well, but what I'm more impressed with is the defense that both teams are playing. I mean, they played Cal, they played Stanford, and then they played Georgia Tech as well. 3 games to open ACC play. The most points they've allowed, 60.
Yeah, that's really impressive.
Especially in the ACC. You're not gonna go on a 3-game stretch where you allow 60 at most, a lot. So that stuck out to me, very impressive.
Yeah. Were there any players in their performances in any one of those 2 games that really stood out to you, Carson?
I think Camille Pierre in the Cal game, she had like 21 points and I think like 9 rebounds or something like that. I think she played really well. I thought Zoe Brooks played good against Stanford.
Yeah, she did. She had a really nice game. And I think there's a one point I saw that Camille Pierre, was it during the Cal game? She got injured a little bit.
She got poked in the eye.
Poked in the eye. She was fine, I guess. Late, I see her back on. I kind of went with the women's basketball route. So if you want to take over, you can. But we're just we're talking about the latest matchups between they had against Stanford and Cal. And they're aren't the women 3-0 at this point in ACC play? 4-0. Undefeated, right? And we were questioning whether this team was they were looking pretty shaky in non-conference a little bit. And are they? I don't know where they are in the ACC standings, but I can't imagine 4-0 is pretty high up there. So, Greg, what do you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, tied for first. 4 teams are 4-0. Louisville, us, Virginia, and Duke. Duke got a nice upset win yesterday over Notre Dame. But going back to the Stanford game, I think what makes that even more impressive is Stanford, after the 28-point loss, went over Chapel Hill yesterday and got an overtime win over Carolina. So that makes it kind of an even more impressive win by the Lady Pack. Biggest thing right now going on for the team is damn Jones. She had to be off the court yesterday at the end of the game. Was some kind of ankle injury. We don't know the extent of it unless someone has seen something that was posted today. But yeah, that's the really big one. Right now, riding a 6-game winning streak. We'll go down to Clemson this week and then have a home game against SMU on Sunday. But yeah, just playing really well. I think Carson summed it up well. The best trait of this team right now is the defense. They're locked in. I think also what makes the 2 wins even more impressive is that the flu bug was going through the locker room over the weekend. You had Pierre was kind of sick on Thursday, and then Maddie Cox got it, and then yesterday Toto Trigger got it, and she got it so bad she didn't even play, which I thought might be concern for the game, but it really wasn't. So yeah, quick summary from my perspective.
Yeah. First of all, sorry, Megan, if I can get in here, just to make it clear to those who are listening that I'm here finally. Sorry, I've been dealing with technical issues, and I don't even know if Greg honestly even saw that I had left. But I appreciate y'all jumping into the hosting spot there unexpectedly. But I always like to keep y'all on your toes. You know what I mean? Just a little bit of a fire drill there. But I think honestly, this is just another feather in the cap really for me for Wes Moore. Just an incredible coaching job that he's done, really turning around this season that was looking extremely frustrating with some pretty bad losses for sure in Reynolds Coliseum in your own house. And really putting the ACC on alert here. And I think that it couldn't have come at a better time because definitely we're accelerating, and the top team, I think most people would have said going into this season being Notre Dame is kind of backpedaling a little bit right now. So definitely feeling good about where NC State is, as long as this scare here was as Mario Jones isn't too long term or troubling here. But again, this is a team that fights for sure. Love and honestly too, y'all. I feel like Greg, every single time we talk about women's basketball here, and Macon, I'm sure, and Carson, I'm sure you would agree. And for those tuning in, I would love to hear your thoughts as well. But to me, it cannot be understated how big of a get Camille Pierre was this offseason. She has been the MVP of the team by far this season. Just what she has been able to accomplish from a rebounding standpoint, a defensive standpoint, a scoring standpoint, you name it, basically everything within basketball, she's had her hands somewhere in that cookie jar. So I just, definitely just couldn't imagine where State would be right now without her. Simple as that. And especially being that Zoe Brooks has, definitely been figuring some things out this season, which has been frustrating for sure. But at the end of the day, when you have a player like Camille Pierre with the experience she has and with the talent that she brings and the versatility that she brings, I think that the success you're seeing with NC right now has a lot to do with that. So
to your point, Leighton, she's averaging a double-double on the season, 15 points, almost 12 rebounds a game.
It's crazy.
You take those off. I don't know where you're getting that production from on the team to make up for that number. Those numbers, it's
got to be easy first team All ACC right now, right?
Close.
Zoe Brooks is second nationally in NCAA in rebounds per game. I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but
sorry,
Zoe Brooks. Yeah, Camille Pierre. Excuse me.
Yeah, that makes
Camille Pierre is second nationally. She's got 12.3. Courtney Grossman from Eastern Washington is number 1 at 12.9. She is number 1 in Power 4 basketball, women, for rebounds per game. So she's the best rebounder at the highest level of basketball right now for women's basketball.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. Yeah, again, I don't know. I mean, you take 15 points off and 12 rebounds off of this roster. I don't know where you're making that up. No. And as much as I like Maddie Cox and Mallory Collier, I don't think that they're going to give you that kind of production. So to say that she was probably the get of the year is an understatement.
Yeah. Now, with that being said, I do got to give my hats off for sure to Maddie Cox. She's definitely shown some flash for sure this season. Definitely has exceeded, I think, NC State fans' expectations, seeing her play for 2 years and saying, I don't know. I think she's a player that might kind of fall off the back of the wagon here, if maybe that's a metaphor for it here. But I mean, she's really established herself, and one beautiful pass in particular I could think of. I think in the Zamaria, it led to a Zamaria Jones layup, beautiful pass. Again, just love to see what you got from her with a great rotational piece. But
she had a great fake yesterday that I wish she would have finished. Like, she faked out the girl. She was like this, and the other girl turned her head, and she went right past her and just couldn't finish at the rim. But very sneaky. I've been impressed with her. Caden Samuels has done really, really well on the defensive end. Would like maybe a little bit more offensive production from her. But yeah. This is a team where, they started to figure it out, 6 in a row that they've won, they're 4-0 in the conference. The biggest thing right now is just that Zam Jones injury. Is it going to be a long-term thing? And if it is, like, who's going to step up? You would hope that would be Destiny Lunan, but she's a true freshman.
Yeah.
So that's an important piece right there moving forward for the Pack.
Yeah. Now, the one question which I am curious is, and Mick, I'm interested in your thoughts first on this, and then Carson, love for you to follow up. Is anybody surprised that NC State isn't top 25 yet?
Is anybody surprised they're not
top 25 yet?
Well, no, I think just because of what they've not been able to do in the non-conference. Let me say this: if they go 6-0 in ACC play, they'll be ranked. But I think they may need a couple wins more to get ranked. But I could look to see where are they getting votes? Anybody know if they're geting votes right now?
They're getting votes.
Yeah, they're getting votes.
Yeah, they were sitting about 30 last time I saw.
That's what I was going to get at. So they're close. I think a couple more ACC wins, and they will be fine. But they've got a couple games coming up, trying to pull up who they've got next.
They got Clemson
They've got
Clemson.
Clemson and
SMU.
SMU.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So
the big one is next. The big one is the following Sunday with Louisville coming to town.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's the key though. Coming to town, not going
Mm-hmm.
to Louisville.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's getting a little bit tougher after this week. You've got Wake and Louisville. Wake's got some wins, but they really haven't beaten anybody. So that'll be interesting. And that game is in Winston, but as I was talking with someone yesterday, we usually travel pretty well over to Winston, even for women's basketball. And then we got UVA, which again, they're 4-0 right now. So after this week, we got 2 games in a row with teams against that are undefeated in conference play.
Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of funny, but keeping your preseason expectations in mind for how this team was going to look preseason wise, where would you say, Carson, that they are right now in terms of, are they exceeding what you would have expected preseason, or are they still a little bit behind what you expected?
I would say a little bit behind what I was expecting if we're talking overall season, but with regards to how the team looks, then I would say probably around the same expectations. Yeah.
Now, Greg, what would you say to that?
I would say slightly under expectation. Conference wise, record wise, they're where I would hope they were. But from an overall perspective, I would say just slightly under. And that's just because we just didn't finish a couple of games where we had opportunities, especially against ranked teams. But again, we're only about halfway through the season. Still plenty of opportunities out there. But we will need to get going, especially if we're having hopes of hosting for the NCAA tournament. You need to get going.
Yep.
Where would you have projected if you would? What ranking or seed in the NCAA tournament would you be satisfied with right now for the Pack, or guess going into the season?
Going into the season, or right now?
You said hosting. So going into the season, because your expectation for this team, we're talking like they need to be hosting, or we're talking like they need to be 4 or 5 seed. What are we talking about?
Yeah, I mean, if you ask me, I was hoping for a 3 seed or better. Right now, I'm just hoping for a 4 seed.
Yep.
Just so you can get that hosting. Yeah, because it's an uphill battle at this point. Not to say that we can't get there. If whoever wins the ACC will get a host. So if you go out and win the ACC, either regular season or the tournament, you're going to be a host team just because of how strong the conference is as a whole. And really that's all your goal is, to try to get a couple of home games in the NCAA tournament to kind of make your path a little easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, see that right now. NC State is a 7 seed according to ESPN bracketology, and they're in a region with Oklahoma at the 2 seed. So
which is a team we should have beat earlier in the season. So
who right now is number 5 in the country too. So that's kind of reason why I said maybe is NC State going to kind of get a little bit more love, looking at, I mean, how quality of a loss, which I hate to say. Again, I don't want a quality loss, but then that was a heck of a loss, quote unquote, losing by 5 in overtime on the road at number 5 Oklahoma. But again, then there you got to take care of business. Simple as that. I'd rather have a disgusting win over a beautiful loss any day of the week. So, So just to kind of wrap up the women's basketball side here, what would you say, Macon, is the one change or the one thing you would like to see NC State improve on, as the season progresses?
I think it probably, I'm trying to look up their stats here. Probably, go ahead.
Well, I know what I would, 3-point shooting for me, it's 30%. That's been for the last couple of years.
Yeah. Their front court play is really good, right? So it tells me their guards are missing something, and so I'd probably put something on their guard play, but because statistically their forwards, even till the trigger, like I know we're talking about Camille Pierre, but till the trigger is not bad statistically, and so she's putting up good numbers, and rebounding the ball, this team does really well at that. So it's just, to me, it's a scoring thing, really. Shooting thing.
I mean,
Yeah.
to kind of summarize it, Greg. I mean, Zoe Brooks. I know you love it when I pick on Zoe, but shooting right now 13.8% from three. You got Q shooting 26.4%, and then Devin Quigley, who's a good rotational guard for you, 25.8%. So the only
that's way below average. 25 is even a bad number. So
yeah, your only really good 3-point shooter is Zam Jones, and again, if she's going to be out long term, like where are you going to get that scoring from? Again, it's just something that we've struggled with in the last 2 or 3 years. Is we've just not been. We've had people that could shoot it. We just not with a high percentage or the consistency that you would like.
Yeah, definitely
as a whole.
So, yeah. Carson, would you go anywhere different? Would you agree with or add on to the 3-point shooting concern?
Yeah, I would say 3-point shooting concern is a big one.
Yeah, I would say really that's kind of really the only big one for the most part, except for just injuries, just keeping that. But I mean, yeah, I think if you figure out 3-point shooting, pretty much everything else is so minuscule, whether it's, consistency, from, specifically the guard play. Okay. Like, that'll figure itself out as long as injuries aren't a problem. But if you can get that 3-point shooting, we can really spread this thing wide open here, especially with how good the team has looked so far over the last 6 games.
I'm going to add this to like a couple things. Their field goal percentage overall for like your starting 5 between Pierre, Brooks, Jones, Trigger, and Samuels, it looks like they're playing your most minutes. Their field goal percentage is not bad. It's actually really good. They're shooting in all but one, Samuels, all but one are shooting over 40% from the field. That's really good. They're just poor shooting from the three. Your best 3-point shooter is Zam Jones. And then it's Trigger. Like if your forward is your second best 3-point shooter out of your starting 5, and that's not great. So your guards have to figure that out. But one thing that kind of stands out to me, and maybe I'd like to see more of this. Maybe it's just maybe it's my perception of things, but look here. It's like the assist numbers from your forwards. I feel like there's maybe some more potential there to get some assists there from your forwards to create space for your shooters. But they've got it. But I feel like those assist numbers from your forwards kicking out to your guards, that's not typical, but I know State kind of likes to do a 4-out-1-in approach sometimes. If the guards were knocking down their threes, those assist numbers I think would go up.
Yeah.
That probably is a big part of it too. So I was thinking maybe they need to move the ball around a little bit better, but those assist numbers would go up if people were making their shots. So
yeah, and then I think if you're looking for another thing that maybe you would like a better, what's what I'm trying to think of, a better approach or more of is bench scoring. I think that's another thing that we
bench scoring.
We struggle with bench scoring. But but that again, it's nothing new. Like Wes likes to run his folks, 36, 37, 38 minutes for the most part, especially his guards. So he doesn't really rely on bench scoring. But it's also different when you don't really have that person where you can go to the bench, right? Like
exactly.
The men have that guy. And we'll talk about that when we get over to them.
No, which probably here right now. But just to kind of wrap up, and I love that you guys honestly started off with the women's basketball side, because obviously always love to start off these live streams here with a little bit of the positivity side, and definitely women's basketball is all of the positivity right now here for sure, with definitely them figuring some things out, again, getting an amazing game, Camille Pierre. So got to continue this thing rolling here against Clemson here on Thursday night. It's going to be, so as long as Zam is okay, I feel pretty confident going into it. And let's see what we can do over these next few games to get back in the top 25. But with that being said, I do want to jump in here specifically. Obviously, Will Wade has not been afraid of being the main article on SportsCenter recently, and I just want to start off by saying again, I love obviously the unwillingness to put on the political or the fake smoke screens kind of answers of the prototypical approach answers, and just leaving it all out on the line. Now, I do think it's funny how Will Wade, after the question from Joe Giglio about what's your concern level on Darian Williams, and him saying, it's a terrible question. Obviously, heart goes out to our guy Joe Giglio. Is obviously it wasn't a bad question. It was just the final spark to really just kind of blow up that whole bomb there, which obviously Will Wade was thinking about for quite some time there for sure. But with that being said, there's one thing in particular. There's one incident in particular I wanted to bring up here, and that was kind of the follow-up actually with the Darian Williams comment. And so I want to show this clip here talking when Will Wade followed up was followed up with about his thoughts on the Darian Williams comment, and people need to stop talking about him. So let's check it out here, and we'll jump into it.
10 other schools that have paid as much or more than we paid for the kid. All right, the kid's not perfect. I understand that. The kid's not perfect, but he is a damn good player, and we are lucky to have him at NC State. He picked us over a lot of schools with a lot better situation than we had at the time he picked us. Let's be freaking appreciative. Let's support the kid. Let's help the kid, and he affects us winning games. Even when he doesn't make shots, he helps us win. Teams are game planning for him. Yeah, it's an adjustment. Teams didn't game plan for him as much, but he does a lot of winning stuff, and he's taking a lot of unfair heat right now. All right. He does a lot of winning stuff. And so the whole end of the day, it's our job to win for NC State. He helps NC State win. Period. End of discussion. And all this other stuff is a bunch of noise that people don't know what they're talking about. So I'm tired of this. I had to answer questions after Ole Miss. I got it. He didn't make a shot against Ole Miss. It's the only game in his entire career he hadn't made a shot. Let me be clear about this. His shoulder injury was really bad. Most kids making the money he would have shut it down for 5 games. He laid it on the line for NC State for 5 games with a shoulder. It gave us a chance to win some of these games. And people are just piling on his ass. And it's not right. He's a damn good player. He's going to help us win a lot of games in the ACC. So I'm tired of it.
Whew. So, obviously a lot of energy there from Will Wade there. But here's my thing, y'all. And after hearing that, I did a little bit of thinking, and I think it just kind of it made me realize where we truly are when it comes to the transfer portal in college sports, where there's no doubt, obviously, Darian Williams, has not shown off anything except exemplary behavior, representing NC State in the right way when it comes to off the basketball court, things like that. Obviously think good person, all that. Obviously coming into NC State, a great talent, great player. But here's the thing is that I really have lost, and I want to hear y'all's opinions on this too. I really have lost that support from a, what's the word, kind of from a dedication standpoint, being that these players now, it's a transactional relationship really for the most part with most players at this point. So in that situation there with Darian Williams, I'm specifically talking about the Virginia game. Obviously that whole comment came after the Wake Forest game, I believe it was. And I'm sorry. Was that after Ole Miss? I thought that was after Wake Forest. But anyway.
No, you're right. Sorry, you're right.
Yeah, because Ole Miss was before Christmas.
Yep. Sorry.
It was after Wake Forest. And then, you go to Virginia game, and Trey Holloman gets knocked out of the game. And so really it was kind of leading to this opportunity where Darian Williams could finally kind of rise from the ashes as that Phoenix and be like, all right, coach, I got you. I appreciate what you did. Trey Holloman goes down. Guess what? This is my time to shine, baby. This is time for me to take over and go win this game for us. And just once again, it was another struggle bus game for him. And so really kind of putting that comment about him having a bad shoulder, like, okay, yes, for him as a person, I want him to get better. But from an NC State standpoint and knowing, what he's getting paid, which is a lot of money, it's like, all right, man, like at the end of the day, we need to win. Like that was your opportunity. Eventually, Greg, and I know again, like, it's just and Macon and Carson and guys, I mean, and gals, I don't know when eventually is it going to be that you're going to accomplish what we brought you here for, which is to win games for us. That's kind of where I'm at with it. It's a little bit harsh, I get it, but at the end of the day, again, it's just I just look at especially the transfer portal now with football. What is it, like 35% of players that played in college football last year or now in the transfer portal, it's just a transactional relationship for most players at this point. You know, I feel like I would feel a lot different about these players if these are guys that committed to NC State when they were 17 years old and played NC State for 4 years and, you know, and were committed here. But now that it's just a transactional relationship, I don't know. At this point, I'm a little bit kind of like, okay, you know, sorry, not sorry, you know, go win the game for us. Let's go. You know, like it's time to shine. You know, you're getting paid well to do it. You're getting a free education on top of it. Like, let's go. It's just I don't know. I don't know. I just was frustrated kind of a little bit hearing that. And again, watching the game and being like, once again, like, can somebody besides Quadir Copeland step up a little bit for us? Like, you know, Van Allen Lubin, you know, love you, bro, for sure. Like, love your story. But at the end of the day, it's time to, you know, let the rubber meet the road a little bit. I mean, 5 rebounds versus Virginia. What was it? You get like 6-7 points against Virginia. Like, come on, somebody please, who we brought in to be a difference maker, to be a playmaker, go win that game for us. And if it's not Darian Williams, Van Allen Lubin, you know, like Terrence Arsenault's gone to dust, you know, Matthew Abel, a top 30 overall recruit, you know, Paul McNeil, you know, who, yes, he's Mr. 47 points, you know, game, but I don't care. That was against Texas Southern. Like, go win the game now. Go win against the top 25 team, please. Like that's where I want to see a 47-point game. That's where I want to see somebody take over. So anyway, that was my rant here. But Greg, thoughts here first on it.
Yeah, really my biggest gripe about him, and again, it's just, you know, from my viewpoint, is I don't know what it is. I don't know if this is a Darian Williams thing. I don't know if this is a Will Wade thing. I don't know if it's whoever's running the offense thing. To me, he's just not involved enough on the offensive end of the side. With the exception of I just went back to the UNC Asheville game. I mean, he's only averaging about 8 or 9 shots a game, you know, and for a guy, you know, if you want him to get his points, to me, I think he just has to be more aggressive. Now, obviously, I don't want him playing outside of the system and, you know, forcing things. But to me, you know, he's not taking a lot of shots. And then his shooting percentage is, you know, it's okay. It's not, you know, and I think that's what maybe the fans are most frustrated about, is that, yes, he gives you the effort on the defensive side. You know, he rebounds, he plays defense, he does all those things. But for whatever reason, his shot's just not falling, whether it's just bad shooting luck, whatever, you know. But again, he did take 17 shots against Kansas in a game that I thought he was pretty productive in that game. He missed a couple of open shots, especially the one at the end of the game to win it. But for me, I think that's just what I'm seeing, right? It's like he's missing wide open shots. And again, I think those will fall. But he's just having some bad scorer's luck, if you ask me, at this point in time.
Yeah, well, because I think to kind of build off it too, I think where a lot of NC State fans are feeling that frustration, Greg and Carson, I'm interested in your thoughts on this as well. But, you know, you look at Duke, for example, you know, last year they had Cooper Flagg, you know, that guy, you know, that was their stud. This year they have Cameron Boozer, who's played phenomenal, averaging almost 23 points a game, a little bit over 9 rebounds a game. UNC, you know, right now they have Caleb Wilson, you know, over there, who's, you know, like single-handedly putting the team on his back and has been playing really, really good in a lot of different assets, even though he lost his ankles against SMU. But whatever, they're still 12-2, something like that. But you look at NC State and you're saying, Darren Williams, you were AC preseason player of the year. And, you know, you came in first team all Big Ten, you know, into NC State, and I can't find you anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's just looking around, be like, okay, once again, Duke and Carolina, the rich get richer. They get another stud that is playing really, really well for them and putting the team on their back. But we can't find that guy, you know, and we pay to get that guy, and we still can't get it. So, but I don't know, Carson, I mean, like, thoughts on it? Do you kind of see that frustration there?
Yeah, I see the frustration. You know, it's sort of like, I don't know. It's sort of like you get a player. I mean, I don't think he's at. I'm not saying Darren Williams is on the same level as someone like Kevin Durant or Steph Curry, but he was the preseason ACC Player of the Year. He averaged 15.1 points per game last year at Texas Tech. And we're just not seeing that from him. And Wolfpack Nation obviously has a right to be like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah. Macon, what's your thoughts here on the whole Darian Williams thing, man? You think that we're being a little too harsh, or you think it's fair game?
I got several thoughts about the whole situation.
Ooh.
So I think what we said is right, Lane, to be honest with you. I think, he is played preseason play of the year. Let's just set the money aside for a second. Let me start with the positive, actually. So when Will Wade says he had a bad shoulder injury, that's significant. If you're going to go out there and play ACC Division I basketball and you are playing with a bad shoulder, and apparently a really bad shoulder, that's going to affect how you shoot the ball. My only thing is, if I remember, when was that shoulder injury? Was it for preseason? Or was it during the season?
It was during the season.
It was during the season.
Okay. So he was lighting it up at the very beginning of the season. Remember that. He just had a bad shoulder injury. So I think people need to pump the brakes with Darian Williams. Give the guy some time. And honestly, I think he's probably, I don't know the word is skittish, but I wonder if he's just trying to get comfortable back in the groove, in the flow of the game. Because you get out of that for a little bit, you're not really sure of yourself and your shot probably. And I wonder if that's just kind of where he's at right now. I think we need to pump the brakes on him. Having said that, I think your point about essentially his usage rate, Greg, I wonder if State is partly because they're choosing somewhat not to because of his injury, to kind of run through some other players because of that. And also, he's not hitting his shots. They're probably running it through him less because he's just not hitting in there. So I think there's a couple things there. And I like also, to some degree, that Will Wade stood up for his players because he's ripped them publicly to this point already. So I think that was for his team to hear him say that, stick up for Darian Williams. I think that was so much good for the team. And as bad as we think we're playing, we're still projected to be a bye, basically a team in the NCAA tournament right now. Bracketology has us in ESPN as a 10 seed. So we're in the tournament. We are one of the last 4 teams right now with a bye. But we're in right now, and we think we're playing pretty bad. And but I will say this: there's a lot of other really good players in this team that are not hurt, and they're just not. When your focal point of your offense is you want the offense to flow through Darian Williams, and your role as an offense to have to flow a different way, then let me fix this real quick. Get me now.
You're good.
Yeah,
go for it. That's better.
The thing that bothers me with him is that you kind of get disjointed, I think, a little bit when you're not flowing through the offense. Yeah, when you're not flowing through the offense the way you would think you were planning on doing so, and the shots aren't falling. I think that any team you start to get, you're not really sure what to do at the moment. And I think you're seeing the kind of player Copeland is, how good of a player he is, because they are running through him almost everything. And that's really good. But I'm going to say this too. I really like Will Wade as a coach. I think he's going to be a great coach at NC State. I thought his comments about to Joe Giglio were, the way he approached it, were also sort of way out of line. I did not appreciate all the cussing he did there and how amped he was. That's just me. You can communicate that pretty firmly and stick up for your guys without ripping Joe a new one. And I'm not sticking up for Joe particularly. If he'd done that to some other report, I would not have appreciated that at all. And I don't think he's built up enough quota with the fan base to be cussing up a storm like that. Some people are going to love it. I don't like that. But that's just me. I think you can be amped up and do that kind of thing, stick up for your players publicly in a different way. And you are the one who called this a red reckoning when you went into the season, right? You were all over the place calling for a red reckoning. You were also the one who said, you said statistically Darian Williams was the best player in the country and your statistical metrics. Now he did get hurt, right? But when you go out there and say it's a red reckoning, and you're basically every really good team you're playing against, you're losing. It's not a reckoning right now. And I think you're going to lose the fan as loud as you were about how the preseason hype, you won the press conference, you hyped up the class coming in, red reckoning, all those kind of things. We're a team not be messed with. And you're not winning all these big games. As loud as you were preseason talking to that stuff, you have to take it the other side too. When the fan base is just as loud coming back to you, like, hey man, this is what you advertise, and we're not seeing this yet. Now I get you want to go, oh, we can pull we're working on things year one, and he's not making that comment year one, but when you're pounding table red reckoning, where the pack is back and that kind of thing. To be fair, I think our floor has raised because we think we're playing bad right now and we're still in the tournament. We're still 5th in the ACC right now. It's just a thing where I think you need he could have approached that a totally different way, in my opinion. And I think when Westmore came out the game after that, he goes, don't anybody ask me any questions about players or else I'm going to start off. So kind of poking some fun there with Will Wade, but as loud as he's being about how great this team is going to be, he needs to be willing to receive questions when things aren't going the way people anticipated, or honestly, the way that he verbalized it. I just think also fans need to be realizing if he's an injured player, he's an injured player, and he's trying to get back in the groove there. And so I think it's a little bit of give and take, but the amped nature of that comment I didn't really appreciate. I did like that he was sticking up for his player, but that's
and Greg, I'll kind of pitch it to you. And first of all, Macon, bravo, Rusty in the chat saying right on, Macon, definitely said some good stuff there for sure. It's definitely kind of one of those things where obviously with Will Wade, when he came to NC State fans did their parts. They chipped in the money, helped from an NIL perspective. They sold out game one as Will Wade wanted it, things like that. And so now at this point, after Will Wade has, asked these things, we delivered, and now has said the things like the pack is back, the red reckoning, we're not to be messed with, things like that. And when you lose to Ole Miss, you lose to Texas.
We lose to Ole Miss, but go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Seton Hall. Yeah. Sorry. You lose these games, and so it's easy for NC State fans to say, look at Darian Williams, who, yes, is the guy that's the highest paid player in your team. That's pretty much public knowledge, and say, okay, yeah, he's not really giving you much of anything. So, but to at least talk about him, I guess is the word. So,
yeah,
what are your kind of thoughts?
Question. It's a fair question. Like, and to rip him a new one with all the cuss words like that, but you didn't play the whole clip. Like, it's like, whoa, dude, chill out.
Well, if you caught, so I was a little distracted, so I didn't catch all of what Macon said because I thought Joe, he kind of re-asked the same question again after the Virginia game, and Will apologized. He said it wasn't really directed at Joe. Joe just kind of. If
he was the one who asked the question.
Yeah. If the president of Germany asked the question, he would have just blown up at the president of Germany, right? Like it didn't matter who asked that question; they were going to get the red.
How about Venezuela? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, too soon.
Too soon.
But he was fully expecting a question coming on Darian that and he was ready. He was loaded for bear. He was like, I got this answer. It's coming for whoever asks it. And so Joe kind of asked it again, kind of rephrased a little bit, kind of like how you were talking earlier, Leighton, like, even after he stood up for Darian and Darian didn't quite, give the response that fans would have liked, right, with going out and showing it on the court. But I also think, going back to the situation, I think, we as fans are kind of looking for a scapegoat as well. And he just seems to be the low-hanging fruit on that tree of blame.
Well, to your point, though, I don't think fans realized how bad his injury was. And that's probably a fair compliment to tell everybody, okay? But the reason why he's the low-hanging fruit, to your words, is because he was hyped up so much. So it's
I don't disagree. Yeah.
What kind of comes to the territory. So
yeah, no. And again, I think that's fair criticisms.
Yeah.
I just think it had gotten to a point, and Will finally said, hey, he's been dealing with an injury. And now we as fans can go, oh, okay. All right. Now it kind of makes a little bit of sense. And again, we don't know, to the point of how much of the injury is still a thing. Now I will say, if he's being more of a net negative than a positive, then maybe he does need to sit for a game or two to get it kind of right, or is this going to be a thing that he's just going to have to deal with? We as fans don't know these things. Again, I go back to my earlier statement. I think the most frustrating thing is, and again, we don't know why, he just seems to disappear on the offensive side. He plays hard on the defensive side. He makes good passes. He gets his teammates involved. But I think people are just looking for points. It's, as most fans look at basketball, they look at the very basic columns of a stat sheet, and they go, points, 6 points. He sucks. You know what I mean? Like, and that's not really a fair analysis on the average fan.
Go ahead. Really point that too. So they made the point where he was like, "Hey, teams have to adjust for Darian Williams. Right. He had 0 turnovers that particular game. Yeah. He said, he impacts the game in a lot of other ways. His plus minus was really good. I think was not bad that game. I can't remember what it was. But then the next game, his plus minus was minus 18.
Yeah.
So I saw someone make the comment to, I think it was a Barstool Sportsman, whatever, but he was like, "Hey, Joe, ask the question again." Like, it was just kind of like a haha. But it's like, if you're saying he impacts the game in other ways, you said what?
He did. Joe asked it again after the Virginia game.
Oh, I didn't hear it. How did that go?
Well, so it went a complete 180 than it did the first game.
I'm sure somebody talked to Coach Wade about that too.
Yeah. I just, Joe kind of rephrased it and said, "Hey, like, after you gave your passionate speech, essentially, like, and he came out and gave you this, kind of, what are your thoughts?" And then that's where Will said, like, "Hey, look, like, your question wasn't a stupid question. It was a fair question, blah, 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 blah." And he answered it much, much, much differently.
Yeah.
But again, that's kind of Will Wade in a nutshell as well. He's going to give you all kinds of different perspectives, right? And you obviously you're going to fair of some of the fond of some of the language he uses, and I think that's a fair assessment. But he knows what he's doing. Like this whole Red Reckoning, the pack is back. I mean, he wants to get the fans engaged and get excited. Yeah. Either it's going to work or it doesn't. And right now, kind of, we're getting mixed results. And I think that was going to be kind of the thing for the whole season. I thought we were, we needed something to get excited about. And I think that's what he was trying to deliver. Now, there's still a half a seasoning, as I was reading Reckoning. There's still a half a season left to where, you can get this going. I will say, as a whole, they've played much better defense over the last 3 or 4 games. And so if you're playing good defense, we saw this with Kevin Keats' teams, not to bring that up, but if you play decent defense, you're going to be in games. Now, Saturday, not standing up to that. And it just feels like, with the whole switching 1 through 5, like, it just feels like some dudes are catching career nights on us, and you're hoping that some of that's not going to happen every game, right?
But it is happening every game.
It feels like it. It does feel like it. And again, as Wade has said, he's not really worried about the threes so much. It's about who takes the threes, though. And but you just on Saturday, you just dug yourself in too big of a hole. If you're down 20 points at halftime, those games are going to be a loss probably 8-9 times out of 10. But
probably 8,
you flush it and you
9.8.
move on. Go ahead. Well, I'm sorry, Carson.
Probably like 9.7 out of 10.
Probably. Yeah. But I mean, you saw, a glimmer of hope for the first 5 minutes. You got it down to 8 points. You're like, okay, we're back in this with like 15, 16 minutes left in the game. If you're down 8 at that point, that's a ball game. And then Virginia just responded after that technical foul after Odom lit them up on like the 4th of July. And we just kind of deflated. Like we expended all that energy to get it to 8, and then we couldn't hit the broadside of a barn after that. And then it just kind of fell apart at that point. Moving forward.
I will say this just to kind of move forward. Is State has a lot of opportunities to get some good, relatively easy wins the next couple weeks. So looking at their schedule, at Boston College, at Florida State, Georgia Tech at home, at Clemson, at Pitt, Syracuse at home, at Wake Forest. And then the schedule starts to get a little bit tougher there. I mean, those are not good teams in the ACC right now. Clemson is the best team in that schedule because they're sitting. So it's a road game. I think if State can go, I think realistically, if State plays the way they're playing and other teams play the way they're playing, I think 5-7 out of that stretch is realistic. That's a good goal for this team because you can get a win against Boston College, Florida State, Georgia Tech. Those Boston College and Florida State are on the road, but those are bad. Yeah. Boston College is your like third bottom team. Florida State your second bottom team. Georgia Tech's not great. Clemson's good, but at Pitt, that'll be a tough game, even though Pitt's the worst team in the ACC right now. Syracuse will be at home. You got to go at Wake Forest. That's been challenging for us,
But sometimes win against them.
Right. So I think that's 7 games there before you have to play at SMU, who's ranked 24th nationally right now.
You have to go 5-2.
Yeah, I think going 5-2, getting 5 out of the next 7 wins is a good goal for this team, and that'll help. And honestly, playing Boston College, Florida State, and Georgia Tech right now, even though the first 2 are road games, I'm thankful we have those games right now because of Trey Holloman having his injury. That'll give the team some time, I think, with hopefully some easier opponents and some random guy from the 13th man off the bench doesn't come and score 30 on us. I feel like that'll give hopefully Trey Holloman some time to come back and be ready by that Clemson game. And I think we'll be all right. And hopefully that gives Williams some more time to recover a little bit. So they should win the next 3, in my opinion.
Good. Well, and I want to bring in Brian's comments here a little bit here, saying, we've done this before. We are not good either. And I would say I get your frustration for sure. And I think I've seen a lot of NC State fans comment that, being like, well, do we really have talent, a lot of talent, are we really that good? Like, here's my thing. We should be that good. We should be top 4 in the ACC good. We should be top 25 in the country good. We should be that good. But as of right now, just things aren't clicking that way. And again, obviously, as we talked about, there's a lot of reasons for that. Whether it's injuries, just obviously working on lowering, shrinking the rotation a little bit as well. But again, I think it's just, at this point, you're saying, all right, what do we need to do to get Darian Williams 100% healthy, get him rolling in offense a little bit more, and to really start to see if we can get this offense clicking on a more consistent perspective? Because just like you said, Greg, and I do 100% agree, defensive-wise, you're seeing a lot more there, a lot more energy, and a much better job for the most part, except for the open threes, which are absolutely frustrating here for sure. But, I guess you'll take it. But again, so we should be good, but we just haven't been as good. We haven't been anywhere near where we should be from a production perspective and obviously from a win standpoint. So go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, well, if you're trying to get to the NCAA tournament, you're going to need at least 11 to 12 wins at a minimum to get in there. These 7 games right now coming up, these are games that you need to have because on the back end, like Macon said, it's going to get a lot tougher. You're going to have SMU, you're going to have UVA again, you're going to have Carolina, you're going to have Duke. Like it's going to get tougher. So you need to pick off these wins
Louisville.
Louisville.
Miami's not a bad team either. So
no, they suck. They're 12-2, but that is the worst 12-2 team you will ever look at. I literally just
to be fair, then Florida State is one of the second worst teams in the ACC. Florida State's played a tough schedule, even though they've lost to UMass and Dayton. They've played. Go ahead.
No, if you look at Miami's schedule, they've played every team in Florida. They played every team in Florida, and that includes Jacksonville, Bethune, Stetson, North.
Bethune is a threat.
North Florida for the blind. They literally played North Florida for the blind.
Yep. Well,
Florida school to death.
And I want to jump into as well with saying, Brian saying, we didn't sign Will and these boys to look forward to an easy stretch, and saying Keats was the king of moral victories. I just want to say one thing.
We're not talking moral victories for sure.
Well, that's the thing. Well, I mean, I think we're the ones talking about the glass half full, saying, well, at least we have this, things like that. But here's the key. And I always say this as well, is that at the end of the day, we're NC State fans here. We're talking, hopefully 2 NC State fans, maybe a couple and maybe one of y'all from listening to us, you may feel a little bit better of the potential of what this season still could be. Now, with that being said, it's not like Will Wade has not one time had played, I feel like, the moral victory route. That's definitely one thing Will Wade does not do. He is not a moral victory guy. I mean, dang, we beat, what was it, Texas Southern? And what was the first thing he just was hitting the table about was our damn defensive accountability, our defensive effort. So again, I think it's a whole different thing between the head coach taking moral victories and a fan podcast taking moral victories. So just wanted to clear that out.
Yeah, and again, the easy stretch, and he says we're great and all that. I'm just saying it's an easy stretch where these are the wins that you need to get if you're trying to make the tournament. You can't come out of here less than 5-2. No. I would say 4-3 is a loss stretch. You're looking for 5 or 2 or better. I honestly think you could go 6-1.
Definitely.
Like with that being maybe you stub your toe at either Clemson or Wake Forest, just because they're road games. But these other teams are they're okay. But these are the folks that you need to be feasting on, and I think that's what made so many people frustrated about Saturday's game is we were supposed to be on a Virginia level, and then to go out and get embarrassed like we did, you're like, ooh, maybe we aren't as good as we thought we were because. Again, we were picked, I think, slightly ahead of Virginia, if I remember correctly, in the preseason standings. So I think that's the frustrating thing. And you have to go back to UVA and play a return game there. So again, you have another game against a quality opponent, and SMU has gotten hot. And so it's going to get tough in the last month and a half of the season.
Yeah. Carson, I'll let you have the final thought here, man, before we wrap up here and start talking a little bit of football to wrap the show up. So what you got, Carson, men's basketball wise? Put that cherry on top, that bow on top here on this conversation, brother.
Yeah, I think one big takeaway, which I find very interesting, also not very surprising though, is that it is very clear who the 2 leaders are on this team are from the players. Kadir Copeland and Alan Breed. And those were the 2 guys that Will Wade brought over from McNeese.
That's no, and honestly, and we haven't even talked about it, but to me, it is definitely surprising for sure how much Alan Breed has slowly and very quietly established a pretty major role in this rotation for sure. I mean, even being in the starting lineup now, which obviously there's some things probably with that, but I mean, even still, there's no doubt Will Wade trusts him and is really liking what he's seeing right now from Alan Breed. So it'll be interesting to see for sure where that goes, especially now with Trey Holloman dealing with this injury and being out against Boston College. But yeah, no, again, positivity here. Obviously it's completely fair having a spotlight on Darian Williams of, what can we get from him, but definitely pumping the brakes a little bit of making these huge season-wide accusations on him, and let's just see what we get out of the 7-game stretch here, and go just like Greg says, go 5 out of 7, and take it from there. So
hey, real quick, I heard you just say Trey's out tomorrow. Did he give a long-term prognosis or anything? Because I just hadn't heard anything today. I was busy at work.
I think it's just that they're going to play game by game and not tip their hand any more than they have to.
Yeah,
agreed. Yep,
cool.
Yep. Nope. Hey, Brian, listen, man, we appreciate you for sure, man. No name for sure, and being part of NIL again. It in order to play the game, it's a necessary tool for sure. So, but then I say is that, just continue to say,
Believe.
hey, listen, and say, listen, it's still early, you're still probably halfway through his first season, give him some time here. Let's see what the rest of the season goes. And then once the season's over, then we'll judge it from there. So I just say that, just let the season finish out, and then we'll start to make some long-term, discussions and decisions here of where we kind of go. But with that being said, I do want to spend some time talking a few things about in-state football here. Specifically, first one I want to hint on is an interesting one here, and that is Hollywood Smothers committing to Alabama here. Now, I know when he had entered the portal, there was definitely some talks of, is he leveraging this to, leverage his spot a little bit in the NFL draft, saying that he could come back, and kind of use that to his potential benefit. But I mean, definitely committing to Alabama, who, I mean, if there's a team right now that needs established running back or needs a run game period, that would be Alabama for sure. And you look at obviously Alabama, what they did with Jahmyr Gibbs, for example, a recent memory where he kind of took a guy from a low-hanging school low-hanging school like Georgia Tech and made him now into one of the premier running backs in the NFL. And you're saying with Hollywood Smothers, hey, it's not a huge stretch for sure that he could be more beneficial. Now, with that being said, though, I do gotta admit my heart's a little bit hurt here for sure, being that when he was committing out of high school, it was down to us in Oklahoma. He chooses Oklahoma, goes there, doesn't play at all, comes back to NC State, and is a part of a rotation. But then we figure out, definitely Doran figures out pretty quickly as the season goes on, that he's the guy we need to invest in, and he definitely goes in on that in this past season. And it's paid off for sure, averaging almost 90 yards a game. Should have been our first 1,000-yard rusher since 2018 if he had stayed healthy. And he transfers and goes to Alabama. Now, so a little bit of hurt there. But with that being said, though, I know there's definitely, and here's my kind of where my head is with it, Greg, is that I think that one, you feel really good about what you have in Duke Scott. I think that, if Duke wasn't here, and there was more questions from the running back side, you may have dipped your hand a little bit more into seeing how far we can stretch to keep Hollywood. But also, too, as well, being with the issues that you're trying to address on the defensive side, obviously the issues you're trying to deal with the offensive line side from a transfer portal perspective, trying to get CJ, figured out as well, is, again, there's just so many kind of wobbly pieces to this whole transfer portal situation is it's a tough situation for sure, because loved Hollywood, loved watching him play, and definitely it's gonna sting a little bit for sure if he's playing playing for the Crimson Tide next season.
Yeah. No, again, we just talked about it a little bit earlier with basketball. I feel like when it comes to football, and I've said this before, I like to compare us to a small market baseball team or small market hockey team where you got to go out and evaluate talent really good, and you gotta buy low, sell high kind of thing, right? And then kind of choose where you're going to make your biggest investments, and you kind of saw that with CJ coming back with his announcement last Friday. And now at this point, you've lost a few offensive weapons, and so now you're trying to replace them. We lost Peak today. We just brought a guy in from East Carolina, was probably going to be his replacement. And then you got Spike and Teague just announcing recently that they're going to be here another year.
Let's go.
And right now you're just trying to make sure that you've got the weapons around CJ to make him be as successful as possible. Signed a wide receiver yesterday from Buffalo. Last name Snow.
Victor Snow.
Ironically, coming from Buffalo, that kind of makes sense. Yeah, you just want to make sure that you get the weapons that CJ needs. And then I think you just build this thing from the trenches out, and you see the focal point with some of the retention, like I just mentioned on the offensive side. And now you just really got to go figure out what you're going to do on the defensive side of the ball, especially from a defensive line, because you pretty much have to replace all your production from a year ago. That's really what worries me. So we'll see.
You're losing a lot of my work right now. Your starting receivers, the way I would project it, would be Keenan Jackson, Teddy Hoffman, and Victor Snow.
And then Boulder, I would throw Boulder in there as well.
Well, Boulder's in there, but was he starting? Maybe if he does well in Keenan. But
he doesn't have any production. That's the problem, right?
Yeah, but to me, you're going to need to get some guys in with some more size because, and the other guy who I think he's probably more running back at this point that I totally forgot about. I mentioned this the other day. Did everybody else forget Jonathan Paylor was on the roster? Like I did, and so he's probably more of a running back guy. But I feel like they're going to need to bring in some more guys with size because Snow's 5'8", Teddy Hoffman ain't big, and Taylor's not big. So
Boulder and Jackson are pretty good size guys, though.
I'm checking to see what is Boulder's measurable out of curiosity. Remember?
I thought he was like 6'2", 6'3".
Okay, I'm checking that. I just didn't remember. 6 foot.
Okay, so not quite.
Yeah, but still, that's just put some my mind about that. He was the fourth guard back when I was in high school. So
yeah. I just think it's frustrating again, and I'll turn this back over. But you just had Hollywood go to Alabama. It sounds like Terrell Anderson is at USC now.
Yep.
Southern Cal, not South Carolina.
Yep.
The real USC.
Yeah, the real USC. Yeah.
Here you be late in the season, smirking.
So it's good and bad, right? Like we're definitely identifying talent. Some of our problem is being able to retain some of this talent, just because we get them again. Like I said, we get them at a good price, and then they kind of explode onto the scene, and then they want a bigger chunk of money, and we just don't always have it because we have to be smart with our money. We can't pay top dollar for every position group, or we won't have enough to kind of go around and fill out a roster of equal talent. So I know that's probably the biggest frustrating thing for a lot of state fans.
Yeah. No, Carson, of all the news so far in terms of people that have decided to enter the portal or commitment so far, is there one that, stands out to you the most?
I think the one that stands out to me is the fact that we've had both Terrell and Noah enter, not just one or the other. That was something that stood out to me.
What about? I feel like honestly the Jacarius Peak one is the one that hurts the most for sure, and
that makes zero sense.
Well, and especially so here you answer first. So why does it make no sense to you before I say why it hurts?
So he's like the number one offensive tackle, offensive lineman in the portal, and like number 3 overall in the portal.
Yep.
Why are you taking college money when you can go get NFL money, right? For me, it's like you're going to stand, and it's great if you're trying to get a degree, which I don't think any of these guys are getting degrees at this point. They're just playing football and getting money, which is fine. Let's call it what it is. But why would you wait another year, potentially expose yourself to injury, and then be one less year away also from getting to your second contract, and that's the contract you typically get paid on. So for me, go take that, because a lot of these guys are getting probably, unless you're like just a superstar, but like I feel like offensive tackle is a kind of a superstar position, even though it's not a skill position, but it's one that typically makes a lot of money in the NFL if you're really good, because you're protecting usually the quarterback's blind side, which is the second most important position on the field.
Right.
So why would you wait to go get paid? And again, don't know these guys' situations, but go get a guarantee. So NIL money is 1 year, right? So whatever that number is, it's 1 year. Whereas if you go to the NFL, you typically get a 3-4 year contract with more guaranteed overall than you do from the college game. And again, like I said, you're 1 more year closer to getting to that second level contract. To me, it just doesn't make sense if you're trying.
And your draft stock will probably never be higher than what it is.
It probably won't. Unless you just go to an amazing school and you just get all the shine. But any scout worth their salt can still find you at NC State. Like,
hello, Bradley Chubb, right? I mean, it's like
Icky.
exactly.
Like,
yeah.
it can be done here. So again, I think these guys are just getting, and I don't know what it is.
Oh, Greg muted himself. I was like, I thought I was having more issues
for a second. But they're getting short-term gains, but for long-term losses, in my opinion.
Yeah. Greg, too, I think it switched your microphone as well. But yeah, no, I mean, and Carson, kind of for me, too, where it hurts is I miss the days where, players can just where loyalty was a thing, where it's like, listen, we identified you, we went after you, we went as far to make sure that you decided to come to NC State, and we're paying the rewards for it. And then they too, it's not like, I don't know, just to me, I get there's definitely, like Greg said, there's going to be a difference in terms of how much other schools could pay you versus what we can pay you, for sure. But you're not eating ham and cheese sandwiches in NC State either, like it's not like you're getting paid pennies on the dollar here at NC State either. So I don't know, that's just, and you're playing for a great coach in Garrett Tujay, who I would say is one of the best offensive line coaches, one of the most underrated offensive line coaches in the country. So I don't know. That's just kind of my point in it, but I feel like I'm still living in 2018 a little bit here. The good old days.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit it really well, Layton. Yeah, the sport is just changing. I mean, and if the sport changes,
changes more and more every day.
Yeah, the players' perceptions of it is going to change, and it's. I don't know. It's just different than it was 5 years ago. It's different than it was 10 years ago.
And it'll be different for next year too.
Yeah.
Yes, it will be. Mm-hmm. Yep. So, yeah, no, again, just again with football, and then the last thing too as well, I want to give a shout out. Got to give a shout out to Peyton Wilson going to the playoffs. Loved seeing number 41 pop up on the screen last night. But also Drake Thomas, man. Holy smokes. Like we're talking about how much of a steal Peyton Wilson was. Listen, Drake Thomas might be one of the biggest NFL steals and nobody talks about.
He practice squad, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He started out the practice squad, yeah.
That's a wild ascension for him. That's wild to me.
Just give him an opportunity.
Right. But it was like the dominoes fell for him to be in the spot he's in. Like a couple guys got hurt, so he got a starting job and he made the most of it. He started on special teams. Like it was like he's just a great football player, as we all know. But
well, the only difference of him not getting drafted sooner is just because he's probably 3 or 4 inches too short, right?
Right.
I mean, that doesn't take away from the fact that he can tackle, he's fast, like everything that we saw at NC State. It just took the NFL a little bit longer to see it.
Yeah. Nope, absolutely. And now the Seahawks are paying the dividend, or getting all the profits right now for it. Go ahead, Carson.
What about Joe Thuney on the Bears?
Who thought that move? Like, honestly, that's a good call, Carson. That's a sneaky good call, because when we talked about it at the beginning of the season, it's like, why the hell would you go to the Bears? And then like, oh, that's because you brought in an offensive guru in Ben Johnson, and like he turned Caleb Williams into like a Pro Bowl type quarterback. You're like, because if you looked at Caleb Williams the first 2 years, he looked completely lost. Or is this his second year?
No, this is his second year.
Second year, yeah. But he looked completely lost as a rookie quarterback, and then until you brought in Ben Johnson, you're like, yeah, he's probably going to still be lost. But damn, but yeah, good call on Thuney.
Well, especially too as well, because I mean, obviously, the Bears were willing to invest top dollar in improving the offensive line to protect that asset in Caleb Williams as well. So, but again, man, like Joe Thuney is heading towards. Go ahead, Carson.
If you look at the Bears' offensive line last year, it was not good at all.
Yeah. Well, you brought him in to not only solidify, but to be a leader, right? Like you need a guy that has. What, 5 Super Bowl rings? Was that what he's got? 5, 4? I can't remember how many.
Every team is everywhere he's gone, he's won.
Correct.
And every team that he's left has dropped off, because when he left the Patriots, they missed out on the playoffs for a few years, and then he leave the Chiefs and they missed the playoffs.
Dude, he knows what he's doing. He moves at the right time.
2-star out of high school. Okay, 2-star out of high school.
Yeah.
Yep. Probably started, the most games at tackle, but started a lot of games at guard and a lot of games at center too for NC State. So
do you want to know my favorite moment from him when he was at NC State?
Go for it.
And you guys can go on YouTube and find this moment. It's when he was dancing in the locker room to Shake It Off by Taylor Swift.
Shake It Off.
Oh, that's one of the funniest, stupidest, dumbest things you've ever seen. But he was just like, it's just, yeah. It's a fun video.
I have an image sometimes of him running out of the tunnel during senior day, and he had like major long hair. I don't know if anybody else remember that or not, but yeah.
Yeah. No, he's I'm telling you, like he's also too has become a very sneaky Hall of Fame offensive lineman that I feel like nobody's really talking about either. So,
well, again, it's really hard as an offensive lineman because you know, people only recognize you when you screw up. You know, you don't get all the praise and love for great run blocking. There's probably only a handful of guys that really get that recognition. Like back in the day, if you think of like the Matthews brothers, Orlando Pace, Anthony Munoz. I'm naming names that people probably don't even remember because I'm the old one in the group. But he's just one of those dudes that just goes out and just does his job and doesn't do it flashy, but just does it really well.
Yep. No, and again, I mean, he gets graded year in year out as one of the best offensive linemen, per PFF in the NFL too, for sure. But yeah, no, I agree with you there. So again, a lot of splashes being made by Pac Pros, and obviously the creme de la creme this season for NC State Pac Pros has got to be Phillip Rivers retiring 2 times now. So shout out to P Riv for sure.
Someone said it was a smart move for him because now he gets insurance paid for his kids for like the next
5 years
or 5 years now or something like that. So that was a genius move too. So
hey, just got to get Gunnar Rivers to commit to NC State, and it'll be one of the best Phillip Rivers years since 2023, I think. Sorry, since 2003. Sorry.
You also got Jacoby Myers on the Jaguars.
Yeah,
we're not talking about my former offensive coordinators. We're not talking about my former offensive coordinators as head coach.
How about the Carolina Panthers, Greg?
I mean, we split. Big deal. That's okay. We would have been
playoffs, not playoffs.
It's been 10 years, Greg. It's been 10 years. Okay.
We would have been one and done. So I'll take the 15th pick. Ironically, they're projecting Brandon Cisse as potentially as a draft pick for the Bucks. So
man. That's crazy. He's really good.
That's another one.
Yeah,
that's another one we could talk about. But yeah. Anyway, though, so appreciate y'all tuning in and definitely through the ups and downs with the technical difficulties on this show. Appreciate y'all. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and make sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed this conversation as well. If it just lit up for you, that means you need to hit it. So make sure to go and do that. And make sure to if you're listening to us on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to us, do us a big favor, leave us a 5-star review. We greatly appreciate that as well. And make sure to give us a follow, Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, y'all. But with that being said, first one of 2026 is done. Check the box, and let's move on to what's to come here in 2026, which I hope will be a lot of good. So we'll see y'all soon. As always, go Pack, y'all.